Yes. Let's talk about the Pennsylvania Supreme Court,
Okay.
because I know that we had been following that. Jim, you in particular had been following that. Do you want to give us the update there?
Well, just that the talk was the Republicans thought they were going to sneak this by in an off-year election, and it was a pretty smart strategy. It was pretty smart to say, hey, we although they eventually relied on lying to the public about what their vote would mean, which I have no respect for.
There were mailers that
literally said the opposite of the truth, and I really just detest that kind of thing. If you can't win on your own merits, shut up. So they lost. I think all of those attempts to not retain the justices were defeated. I think they won retention by about 62%, which is decisive, obviously. So that a lot of money wasted and a lot of damage done to credibility.
And when you say that, they the percentage, they had over 80% of the vote saying to retain these justices, right?
I think it was lower than that when all the numbers came. I thought the numbers that I saw started out at 80% at the beginning of the night, but by the end of the night, it was more like 62-38 is what I seem to remember seeing. But I can check that. That's what I remember. So anyway, we retained all three of the Democrats in the state Supreme Court. That's going to be critical in 2028. So that was an enormous victory. That people really paid attention to what was being done there, and the lying and deception didn't work. Good on you, Pennsylvania.
And then a big gain in the Virginia legislature. The Democrats not only retained control of the assembly, they expanded those numbers by a huge margin, which was very interesting to see. That a lot of anti-trans politicians who all throughout the country, a lot of MAGA, were running on that anti-trans, using the exact same verbatim from last year. And this time around, it did not work out for them at all. Aaron in the morning has some really great reporting on there. I'm gonna highlight it here in a couple seconds. But it's impressive how they expanded their.
Oh, they're gonna.
Yeah,
she can talk
it's
about
not it's not the assembly. It's the House of Delegates.
Yeah, House of Delegates.
The House of
I
Delegates.
mean, I have the numbers. You're saying.
Yeah, what are the numbers?
Well, I think the Democrats picked up 13 seats, if I recall, and about half of them from everything.
13.
From everything that I can tell, about 6 of them were LGBT people, according to the LGBTQ caucus, and it's an incredible number to gain. That kind of that is literally a blue wave. We talk about it here. One finally happened in Virginia, but half of them are LGBT people. I was really proud of that. Congratulations.
Yep, they flipped 13 seats in the House of Delegates. So now they have 64 to 36, which according to the Commonwealth Times, an independent publication in the state, this is the best position the party has held in decades.
That's great. There's several other states I'd like to see that happen in, but we'll start there.
Well, there were other things that were surprises last night. I know that House Speaker Mike Johnson was out there saying today that blue cities and blue states were voting, and that's why we saw blue outcomes. Well, not so fast, Speaker Johnson.
Yeah.
Georgia, for the first time in a number of years, has flipped 2 seats on the Public Service Commission. This 2 GOP incumbents were running. They lost. The Public Utility Commission deals with electricity prices and energy policy. And most importantly, besides the Senate races that went to Democrats over the past few years, and this is the first time at the state level that Democrats have been winning. First 2 seats in a number of years, a long time. So it was very exciting to see that. We're going to break down some more key races when we come back. You're listening to The Gailey Show on AM 950 KTNF and WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. We are breaking down the election results from yesterday. So we were talking about before the break how the Democrats won statewide elections for the first time in a number of years, where two Democrats flipped GOP seats on the Public Service Commission
Georgia.
in Georgia. Rather, what did I say?
You didn't say a place.
Oh, in Georgia.
Mhm.
In Mississippi, they also broke a MAGA supermajority by flipping a couple of seats there as well, which was very exciting to see that happen. The Minnesota Democrats according to NPR, broke a GOP supermajority in the state Senate after flipping two seats in that chamber, the state Senate, after picking up also a seat in the state House.
In Mississippi.
And Mississippi, I said Mississippi.
I thought you said Minnesota.
I said Mississippi.
Okay.
A federal court ordered lawmakers to redraw 14 House and Senate districts after finding the maps drawn in 2022 discriminated against Black voters. So that was also, that was not in a blue area. So when you see fair maps, look what happens. You get fair elections. Obviously, then, of course, the biggest news of the evening last night was how quickly the election was called for Zohran Mamdani. I thought it would be getting it later into the evening, and instead the polls closed, and I think like a half hour later or 40 minutes later, they were calling it for Mamdani. I was also wrong. I thought he wasn't going to get to 50% of the vote. I thought he'd be about 48 or 49. He did stay over the 50% mark. So I think that is a very interesting outcome. Obviously, Cuomo was a ridiculously flawed candidate. And, was watching MSNBC, which, by the way, Steve Kornacki not being on the board on MSNBC is a gay hate crime. I'm just going to say that right now. Like, bring him back. I know he's at NBC now, whatever. He should be at MS now. Anyway, or that's what they're calling themselves now, MS now.
Ari Velshi did the best he could, but
I love
not
Ali.
his thing.
I love Ali.
Yeah.
Love Ali. But he's got some work to do. He's no Steve Kornacki.
No,
he is no Steve Kornacki. But as we were watching it last night, there was some criticism of Senator Schumer about how he didn't endorse Mamdani during the campaign, and Lawrence O'Donnell was like, well, he, as the leader of the Senate, and he didn't endorse Cuomo either, and none of the leadership endorsed Cuomo, and Cuomo was a nightmare for them. If Cuomo was such a nightmare for the Democrats, then why didn't the Democrats come out and go, you need to get out of the race?
Yeah, I mean, every time we put up a candidate that doesn't meet the standards of the corporate Democrats, they're very free to just rip people down, and of course it's progressives that are more aligned to democratic socialists than they are to corporate Democrats. So it's really going to be interesting in New York. I thought of since we've been enduring Trump, we heard a line from Mamdani last night that we've all been trying to think, how are we going to respond to this? And he said, if you're going to come for one of us, you have to get through all of us. I thought that was the defining ring statement to Donald Trump from everybody that loves this country. I know it's dangerous. I know there's baggage that comes along with that, or threats that come along with that, but that's the truth. And I thought, I've never heard it stated clearly since the election, and Mamdani said it last night, and so I stand pretty firmly with him on that.
There was also some interesting framing coming out last night. I heard it on MSNBC. It's going to be MS now, and also in other interviews on other networks with Democratic spokespeople about look at how inclusive the Democratic Party is. We know how to govern because we know how to govern in Virginia. We know how to govern in New Jersey. We know how to govern in New York City. And yes, those may seem like different platforms, but that's because the Democratic Party is being responsive. I think that's interesting branding. The problem that I have with it is what happened here in Minneapolis, what happened in New York City, where you have Democrats that are that moderate side of things. And, in New York City, it was Cuomo who lost the primary, but then decided to keep going in there. And then it makes this vote blue no matter who, who's the who there, who votes blue and who determines who is blue. So I think it's an interesting messaging line. I'll be curious to see how that plays. Just because, you wake up this morning and I, pull up my phone and I read the AP News, and the analysis is, oh, they won in Virginia and in New Jersey because they downplayed LGBTQ rights, because LGBTQ rights are a liability. And so, I wake up this morning and I can't enjoy the morning now because I'm just getting all these messages about how, well, they won because, I'm a political liability. Jim, you're a political liability. All the queer and trans people listening right now are political liabilities. So we can't talk about you. We shouldn't support your rights, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And, so that's one party. And then the other party is, you are literally a threat to America and you're destroying the country.
Yeah.
And, interestingly to see, though, is that 82% in an exit poll, 82% of LGBTQ voters went for Mamdani last night, and he was unapologetically pro-trans
Yep.
in his campaign,
Yep.
including in his social media, which was Choice social media, and has been for a number of months. He was at a trans rally earlier this year. So this idea, this false idea that Democrats, and I'm going to have a story about this because there's another thing that came out last week that Aaron in the Morning was reporting, and it is BS about this false choice that Democrats are pushing on us, which is, it's either LGBTQ rights or it's democracy. You cannot have both. Newsom is the biggest one pushing this right now, but there are a bunch now, 3 Democratic strategy groups that are saying it's either the gays or it is democracy. You can't have both. I'm going to get into that next week. But speaking of the gays, this was a school board district that I was watching very closely last night in Colorado, Douglas County School Board. And the MAGA was going after retaining 4 GOP MAGA seats on the school board. They were all campaigning on keep the trans kids out of sports, keep the trans kids out of sports. All 4 of them have lost.
Yeah.
Or at least according to these results right now, a lot of votes will have to come in to upend all the not progressives, but all the Democratic endorsed candidates are prevailing in their races right now. Right. So that was also excellent news from last night in the election. So
let's follow up on that tomorrow, because just to make sure that good news holds. But
right. And then, of course, the map got approved as well in California. So we'll have some gerrymandering in California to offset Texas. All right, we're going to have Jake Wittig, Chicago Journalist of the Year and Managing Editor of Windy City Times. When we come back, you're listening to The Gailey Show on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, and AM 950 Radio, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
This is Santita Jackson, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Hey, Jake.
Hey, Jake.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry, I accidentally hit Siri. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good. Hello.
Hello, hot mic on YouTube. All right. Is there anything election related that you want to unpack